What's going on, everybody? I don't know whether I have audio because I accidentally went live this way. I didn't mean to. So let me check. You're going to hear feedback. What's going on? Yeah, okay. I didn't mean to go live this way. I meant to go live the other way that I typically do. However, I screwed up and pressed the wrong button. So we're going live directly through our software, which is sometimes glitchy, but you know, what can you do, right? You got to do what you got to do. Anyway, welcome. Today is, it's interesting because kind of what I forecasted yesterday is going to be the same exact thing that happens. You know, everyone is just going to focus hyper focus on the trans aspect of yesterday's shooting and not pay attention to anything else, which is horrible. You know, the whole thing is horrible. I think I had nightmares last night. I woke up this morning. I was talking about it. My wife was all worked up about it. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. For anyone that doesn't know, yesterday, a trans woman to male walked into a Christian school in Nashville, Tennessee, a private Christian school, and executed 6 people, 3 of which were children. That person apparently plotted the attack on the Christian school. There's a manifesto that, from what I understand, hasn't been released. Now, I did see something that was posted online where people are claiming that's the manifesto, but from what I'm able to figure out, the manifesto has not been released by the police thus far, so the authenticity of that, you know, yellow paper is not verified, so we're not going to talk about that because, well, I don't know if that's even really it. But apparently this person, this monster, decided that it would be a good idea to target little children, Christian children. And they did. And killing 3 of them, injuring, killing 3 children, killing 3 adults. And then she died as a response, or she died when the police showed up. And she started shooting at the police through a second floor window as soon as they pulled up. You know, it's weird because I see everyone applauding the police on a 14-minute response time. For the life of me, I can't understand why that's even acceptable. And I'm not trying to shit on Nashville PD or anything else. I mean, this is a direct result of vilifying our police officers on the daily basis. Do you know what I mean? That's truly what it is. It's we've made it, just us as a society, not me, but us as a society has made it so hard to become a police officer because people don't want to do it anymore. Do you know what I mean? People don't want to become police officers because they're instantly vilified. Nashville is one of those cities where, you know, they had defunding talks in 2020. They didn't defund. In fact, they're trying to increase the budget so they could hire more. I think in Nashville right now, they're offering a $15,000 hiring bonus to get police officers to become police. I believe that's what I saw this morning. Because they have a shortage of about 180 officers. They should be sitting at 1,600 officers, and they have just, or maybe it's more than that, because I thought I saw something that said 1,300. The other one said it was 1,420 officers. So they have a definite issue with response times. I mean, even the last shooting that took place in the entire zip code, there's only been 2 shootings from what I was able to gather, at least that, you know, for the data, and I posted it on Twitter this morning. The last shooting was a 9-minute response time too, which is just, to me, I don't know why we're applauding a 9-minute response time. Sure, you can applaud the actions of the police officers when they got there. They didn't stand back. You heard the police chief make that statement yesterday, saying that they didn't stand back. They ran right in, you know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, for me, like, that should be one of the biggest things that we focus on is a 9-minute, or it wasn't even a 9-minute. The last police-related call they had there was a 9-minute response time. From the moment the call came in to the moment that police arrived on scene was a 9-minute response time. This one was a 14-minute response time. I don't know, man. I don't want to like criticize the police, but at the same time, I don't think we should be applauding 14-minute police times. I really don't. I see the 2 officers that are being hailed as heroes, and most certainly they are. But if you have to stage officers so far away that they can't get to their service area, in 19 minutes, then you must hire more officers. That should be a priority, and the school should have had officers there. Someone said, I am from Tennessee, and that's a rural area. It doesn't even matter whether it's a rural area or not. Imagine, oh God, dude, those kids, what they went through for 14 minutes. We shouldn't be applauding a 14-minute, response time, no matter what. We should not be doing it. We should not be, applauding a 14-minute response time. Yes, we can applaud those officers, but, for going and stopping the threat and running into a building when they were under fire because we know that this monster was shooting at them through the second-story window, shooting in their police car was actually hit when they pulled up. We can applaud those officers, but we shouldn't be applauding a 14-minute response time. And I see everybody doing it online, and it pisses me off, so much. It pisses me off because what if that was your kid? Are you telling me that you'd be accepting of a 14-minute response time if it was your child in that school? Because I could tell you with 100% honesty, there's not a chance in hell. I think about the times, a 14-minute response time, shit, I could be halfway to my kid's school by then, and we're 25 miles away. I don't know. Clarksky in the rural area here in Arizona, police officer on site with a gun never had an issue. Yeah, we have in our school districts, I think it's state of Virginia, every single school has a police officer on scene. And I think most of the private schools have private police officers on the scene, or they have contracts with the sheriff's departments to provide them with a police officer on the scene every time. Just like Blue Crow said, 14 minutes is forever. It is. I mean, think about those kids. Think about everybody else. And luckily, because this monster had so many different rounds, so many guns, they were in, just like someone else said in the chat before, they were going through with a plan. Because otherwise, it could have been so much worse. But my gosh, man. Someone said, wasn't it a private school? Yeah, it was a private school. I don't know, man. I see how everybody is commenting on social media. A lot of people are jumping heavy on the Trump or on the trans thing, which I understand, but we have to be honest with it. It's not even really a trans issue. It's a mental health issue. People that are suicidal, that are currently suicidal, and people that have exhibited in recent times, like this monster, and I'm going to keep referring to it as a monster. And I'm not calling it as because I'm trying to. It's a monster. If you kill kids, you're a monster. I'm not gonna call her she. I'm not gonna call it he. I'm gonna just reference this scumbag as a monster. But now you have the New York Post reporting that friends say that this scumbag previously said that they were gonna harm themselves. They should never have been able to get a gun. Ever. And it makes you think, okay, well, at that point, what do you do then? At that point, what do you do? Do you know what I mean? Because if you don't want to restrict guns, I don't want to restrict guns. I don't want it to be too easy for people to manipulate that. But what do you do? Someone said suicidal is different than homicidal. Yeah, trust me, I know. I'm well aware. But I also don't think someone that's suicidal should be able to own guns. That's my belief. Until they're not suicidal anymore. Until some shrink signs off and says, hey, you're not threatening to harm yourself? Good. But this person exhibited those characteristics before. I find it hard to believe that in the majority of these mass shootings that people don't really pay attention. Now, keep in mind, there's two categories of mass shootings, right? You have mass shootings like this, and then you have mass shootings that happen in cities. The mass shootings that happen in cities, like, for example, there was one last night in Maryland. One person was killed, 3 others were injured outside of a strip club. Or outside of the area code strip club in Hyattsville, Maryland. It was on my local news this morning. It happened just after 12 o'clock this morning. Someone opened fire. Those are different kinds of mass shootings. They're still mass shootings. Mainstream media typically doesn't cover it. You're not going to hear about the Hyattsville mass shooting on your local news today. We will, because I live in that area. You're not going to hear about it on your local news. It's certainly not going to play on Fox News or CNN. The fact that people came out of a strip club at 12:30 in the morning and died, nobody's going to talk about that. When we hear about all the school shootings, we saw yesterday on social media, people were saying the majority of school shootings, the offender is a white teenager, a white male teenager, which is false. It's false. You know how many school-related shootings there have been this year so far? 80. 80 school-related shootings. That means shootings that happen during school, that happen after school, that happen on school property, or that happen at sporting events after school. 80 different mass shootings. 80 different mass shootings. Or 80 different school shootings, not all mass shootings. But people don't pay attention to the fact, because again, a lot of those are inner cities, so people don't care. It's almost easier for people to pretend like it doesn't exist that way. That they don't exist. It's almost easier just to blame white people all the time for everything. And I'm not trying to make it about race, but in all reality, it is about race. Because everybody wants to say it's always about white people. We see it. I mean, there's this scumbag right now on Twitter that's doing the same thing. His comment, which is it's really weird. He commented on one of my feeds and on one of my comments on Twitter that's going viral, where I said a trans person targeted a Christian school and killed kids. Those are facts. This was in response to Brian Kassenstein, who's apparently an independent investigative journalist, who said, Marjorie Taylor Greene just blamed Nashville shooting on hormones like testosterone and medications for mental illness. Enough is enough. It's a effing guns. Every nation on this planet has mental health issues. Most of them don't have guns. And I said a trans person targeted a Christian school and killed kids. Those are the facts, because that's exactly what happened. We know it was a trans person. We know the Christian school was specifically targeted. And now we know the majority of the victims that were in the school were also specifically targeted. It's sick. It's sick. And then people are like, show your source. The cops. But this person said, no, ask your source, not some vague reference to the police told me. Regardless, compare that to the amount of straight white males. And I said, yeah, there are 231 million white males in the United States versus 1.6 transgender people. You want me to break down the mass shootings by skin color so far this year? I suspect you don't. And then they said, oh, you're going to try to include race, you bigot. And I'm like, are you stupid? You just said white people, straight white males. You call me a bigot because you're the one that infers that straight white males are the ones that are committing the majority of mass shootings? And I understand, you can't fault these people for believing that, because that is literally how mainstream media has conditioned them. They believe that the majority of people that are going out and committing these heinous crimes are, straight white males. Because that's what media tells you. That's what Fox News, or not Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all of them, every single political pundit from the left, that's what they tell you. And it's so easy just to believe what you're told instead of doing a tiny bit of research. Go to gunviolencearchive.org. So far, we have 133 mass shootings so far this year. Go through them all. The first mass shooting of the year, not by a white person. Second shooting of the year, not by a white person. Third shooting of the year, not by a white person. Here's a big fun fact that nobody wants to talk about. The majority of the victims of these mass shootings that nobody wants to talk about, guess what? They are not white either. And that's why mainstream media won't focus on it. That's why everybody says the same thing all the time. And they try to push this false narrative. Oh, it's guns. Oh, it's not mental health. It's not a mental... Tell me how someone, a group of people, right, where there's a 43% chance of suicidal ideology, which is trans people, 43% chance of that the person that is gender dysmorphia, that is suffering from gender dysmorphia, has suicidal tendencies. Tell me how that isn't a bigger threat than anything else that's going on in this country. Not necessarily a threat to us, a threat to themselves. Do you know what I mean? And so for anybody to try to say, well, it's the guns, it's not the guns, it's the mental health issues, and it's a fact that Americans have no compassion whatsoever. It's a fact that right now, every single trans thing that's planned over the next 2 months has been broadcast all over on social media, and there's going to be counter protests, and I guarantee people will see some this weekend that will be live streamed, and people are going to call them kid killers and all the same stuff that they always do, because this arms the right with something that they can go out and say, hey, listen, we knew that what you were doing was corrupt with kids. Now we could prove it. And it's sick. It's sick. And for anyone to pretend like this is the first time they've attacked Christian buildings, they've been, the left and these radical morons have been attacking, birthing centers, pregnancy centers. So, what is it, 160 different attacks since since Roe versus Wade was overturned. 160 cents, firebomb attacks on people. Now you got the lieutenant governor of Minnesota wearing shirts that say protect trans lives with knives and stuff like that, trying to infer that violence. You have people protesting yesterday morning that are wearing shirts that are just, God, it's so stupid. And I know it's just going to be, we're never going to get to the actual issue, which is the most frustrating thing that you know what I mean? It's the most frustrating thing. Because no matter what, we're not going to actually get to the bottom of what the issue is. Because the right doesn't want to get to the bottom of the issue. The left doesn't want to get to the bottom of the issue. Everybody wants to just pretend like, okay, we can just be stupid about it, And I we ran through it last night. I don't know how you fix this damn issue. Because, red flag laws don't work. Red flag laws are abused. Red flag laws are, unconstitutional. So how do you do it? How do you keep guns from people that shouldn't own guns, like this person or this monster that went and shot these kids yesterday? How do you keep guns out of those hands, right? And it's not just about protecting the kids, because if that was the case, then we'd also be outraged for every shooting that happens in Chicago where kids are shot, because there's been dozens of them so far this year. Nobody pays attention to those because, again, minority people, they don't matter in the eyes of mainstream media. That's why they don't talk about it all the time. But how do you protect them? Because mental health may not necessarily play a part in those shooters, that's gang related and stuff like that. So how do you protect it? You know what I mean? And I don't know. Extra said trans are usually on dangerous medication cocktail, including antidepressants, which cause homicidal and suicidal ideation. Again, you don't know what trans people are on unless you talk to them. And here's the thing. Do you know how many children, how many of this generation that's growing up are on antidepressants? Do you know how many? They literally run ads on social media trying to get kids, to take ADHD medicine, to depression medicine. They literally do it. It's targeting young adults. Because we've made mental health cool. Having mental health illnesses and all that, we've made that like the fad. We've made it cool, which is disturbing as shit. Someone said nothing we can do except mental health check yearly if you own a gun. Yeah, but then how do you not abuse that? How do you not get some doctor that just says, the person's nutty? I don't know, man. I really don't know. I don't know how you fix it. I don't know how you fix any of this stuff. You can't restrict AR-15s because the majority of mass shootings are not committed with an AR-15. I know mainstream media tells you it is, but it's not. 72% of all mass shootings are committed with a handgun. Only 12% of all mass shootings have anything to do with a rifle, not even an AR-15, just a rifle in general. There's more mass shootings with shotguns than there are with rifles or with AR-15s. Those are facts. Nobody can dispute that. Those are facts that are already put out that everybody knows. But they want to ban AR-15s. They don't want to just ban AR-15s. They want to ban all guns. They don't want any, American citizen holding a gun, which unfortunately for them will never happen. It'll never work. So how do you do it? How do you fix any of these issues? A lot of people, which I don't understand why, a lot of people are opposed to safe gun storage acts or legislation just because they believe the government doesn't have the right to go and mandate where you keep your firearm, which I would agree with to a certain extent, unless you have children in your home. I don't leave guns out. I've got plenty of guns. I don't leave them out when my kids are there. We take proactive measures to, for one, make sure the kids know that the guns are not toys. And secondly, to make sure that they're locked up, that they're, not there. If I'm going away, then the guns don't stay in the house, like stuff like that. I don't know, man. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to me because I watch everybody say all this stuff and they're all attacking other people. And now you got a lot of figureheads on the right just attacking trans as if one person out of 1.6 million is a representation for the entire group. Even if you want to look and say there's been 4 in the past 2 years, 4 mass shootings where people either identified as non-binary, identified as trans. There's been 4 mass shootings in the past 4 years of 700 mass shootings that have been trans people. So we're trying to pretend like that's a much bigger issue than the fact that mental health in this country is waning and that people can't get the support they need and they're going out and killing kids. I don't know. Christine Rogers said bulletproof doors and windows in every single school in the country. Bulletproof, like every single school, like the vehicle rides in, mandatory in every single window sold to the. Yeah, but we shouldn't have to do any of that. That doesn't actually solve the issue. You understand that, right? Putting bulletproof windows in bulletproof schools and putting guards in schools, armed guards, sentries on the rooftops, that doesn't actually prevent this incident from happening. What it does is it solidifies the fact that we have a drastic problem in this country, and how do we fix it? Do you know what I mean? Because that doesn't solve the problem. That the only thing it does is pushes that person to go commit a crime at different places where that isn't taking place. For example, this monster that went and shot up this school apparently had plans to do it somewhere else, but decided against that because of the security. This was during the press conference yesterday. Decided against going to the second school because of the security at the school. So what do you do? Like, seriously, what do you do? How do you stop this kind of stuff? Because Republicans want, the or they want, they say the Second Amendment is unfettered, and I align with that. Well, to a certain extent, because I don't believe people that are suffering from mental health issues should be able to own guns. I think you should prove that you're worthy to own a gun. I know it's a right, and a lot of people don't believe that you should be able to do that, but that's my belief. But how do you do that without abusing it? Like everyone says, red flag laws. Most people support, most Americans, 60% Americans support common sense gun law. Yeah, I support common sense gun restrictions or gun laws. Everybody does. Even if you're a Republican or Democrat. Here's the thing. We have different ideas of what are common sense. I said that to someone yesterday and they're like, damn, he got me. Because that's the truth. I, as a conservative and a gun owner, NRA member, I support common sense gun legislation. But the problem with it is my idea of common sense gun legislation isn't the left's idea of common sense gun legislation. Do you know what I mean? Johnny Arcade said your beliefs are anti-American. There's nothing that I've said thus far that's anti-American one bit. So don't come on my page to troll, please. I'm not in the mood for it, to be completely honest. I don't know why, because I believe that people should, if you have kids, you should lock up your guns. And here's the thing. I don't believe the government should be able to come into your house and inspect. No, what I believe is that if your kid takes a gun and accidentally shoots a friend or does commit a crime, I think you should be held accountable. But I feel that way anyway. I've been saying that for a long time. But that's my belief. I believe that if my kids took one of my guns and went to school and accidentally shot a friend, I should be held responsible for that kid's action, because it's my job to raise him the right way, and it's my job to protect him and to protect anyone that comes in involvement with him. I don't know why so many people, side against that. I saw when I posted that yesterday on Twitter, a lot of people were like, no, it's unfettered. Nobody's going to tell me where I can and can't use my guns and blah, 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 or leave them out. I leave guns out all the time. And I'm like, wait a second, because you literally just said you lock them up when kids are there, and then when the kids leave, you keep one within 10 feet of you at all times. So that means you're not, you're doing what we're saying. Or you are doing what we're saying. You're saying make sure you're responsible with your guns. Because here's the fact. People aren't responsible with their guns. They'll leave them in a dresser drawer and the little kid comes in and takes it and accidentally offs himself. It happens several times a year, every single year. Every year. Betty Nelson said they packed the legislating with crap. That's why people are upset. Here's the thing, is because while you could pass a common sense gun storage act, which holds parents responsible for when their kids take, their gun and go shoot someone, which I think majority of Americans would agree with, they can't do that. They have to package it with red flag laws, which the majority of Americans, when they actually know what a red flag law is, it doesn't work. In theory, it's a great concept, right? It keeps the guns out of the hands of people that should not own guns, right? It sounds amazing. Sounds like what it should be. However, that's not the way it works. Because what it does is it's an abuse. It's an abuse of the system, and we've already seen it. There are states in place now where someone could just merely suggest that you're a threat to yourself or a threat to others because of your guns, and then some liberal judge can order that your guns be removed without even charging you with any crime whatsoever. And then you have to petition and spend thousands of dollars to get your rights to open guns. Do you know what I mean? Can-Amp Burp said, how many lock boxes do I open to shoot a meth head? You'll pass. What are you talking about? They have biometric safes. I can open my safe in about 5 seconds. And to be honest, the guns are only in the safe when I go to bed. They're on me every other point of the day, just like everybody else. You know, that's how I don't set the gun down. It's not sitting on the counter. No, the gun's on me every single day. You know why? Because that's what it's supposed to be. But so how do you pass red flag laws that people will actually agree with? How do you do it? Because if red flag laws are being abused because people can, and they are, and the ones that are in place, like New York, aren't working at all. The red flag laws in New York allowed the Buffalo shooter to go buy a gun after they threatened to shoot up their high school. They have very strict red flag laws in Pennsylvania, or in New York. And the Buffalo supermarket shooter was able to go buy a gun. Do you know what I mean? So how do you do it? How do you keep, Americans safe? Do you believe that anybody that has suicidal thoughts should be able to go own a gun because you don't want the right to be infringed? How does anybody make differentiate between that and some other thing, right? We heard during one of where they were banning the bump stocks and all that stuff. In one of the committee meetings, we heard a Democrat congressman say that, people that are suffering from PTSD, including our veterans, should be banned from owning guns, under their red flag laws things, because, there may be the off chance that one of those veterans loses their mind. Literally, a Democrat senator, female, I forgot which one, said that in a hearing. It was live and everybody was like, are you kidding me? That's why red flag laws will never pass, because it's not just about getting guns from the people that really physically should not own guns. No, it's about getting guns from the people that people believe shouldn't own guns for a variety of reasons. And that's why, and that's the problem. So how do you actually, create some sort of policy where you can actually differentiate between someone that is in a mental health crisis and someone that you believe is? I don't know. I don't know how to do that, but I believe that we as Americans are not doing enough to save our kids. We truly are not. And how do you fix it? I don't know. I really don't. I think easy things would be is for one, for safe storage acts for guns. If you have children, people under 18 that come to your house or visit your house, when they're there, you should be required to lock up your gun. And if your kid takes your gun, you should be held liable for the actions of that child. Anybody that doesn't believe that, I don't know what to tell you. But and I know, because I've said that before, like the 13-year-old or the 12-year-old that was shot and killed fatally by police in Chicago last year when he pointed a gun at him. And everyone was saying, it's a kid's point. No, it's not. It's the parents' fault for allowing their 12-year-old son to be out at 2:00 in the morning. It's the parents' fault for not, granted that gun was, a street gun. It wasn't from the parents. But I believed at that point that the parents should be held responsible, and the parents should be charged with child neglect for allowing their kid to be out at 2:00 in the morning when they're 12 years old. People don't believe that kind of stuff. Someone said, Mr. Coffee said it's already a law. It's actually not. It's only a law in certain states. There's about 22 states that have no restriction, no culpability if a kid takes a gun from the home and locks it. Tennessee is one of those. There's no culpability for an adult that has a gun. And that's the truth. Someone said, you done yet? I don't know if you're talking to me, Blue Crow, but you might be in the wrong page. You might be on the wrong chat if you think you are a producer on this show. Someone said Illinois is. Yeah, in Illinois they're charging, but they're charging one of those school shooters. Oh God, what town was that? I forgot. The school shooting last year, where they're charging the parents because the parents bought the kid guns. They knew he was all fucked up, and they still went and bought him guns. Sassy said that was for you, Steve. Oh, yeah, I can't tell. That's why I hate the bickering back and forth in the chat, because you guys want me to interact with the chat, and then I see a comment, I think you're talking to me. That's why people should be adult-like in the chat. I know it's complex. Just so everyone remembers as well, we are running a giveaway today, a TV, a 55-inch flat screen TV. I can't put the overlay up, so April. I don't know if April's in the chat yet, or any of my mods. Do the exclamation point here. Let me see if it'll work right there. April's doing it right now. For every $1 that you send via Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal, you have an entry in to win this TV, right? And we started this last night. We're going until 5 o'clock today, and then I'll total it all up. We'll do the drawing live tonight at 8 o'clock. But we're also donating 50% of the total revenue, not the profit, not like after the cost of the TV. No, 50% of the total revenue we're donating to the Covenant School, which is a school where this mass shooting took place yesterday. So I found out how I can donate directly to the school, and that's what I'm going to do. And we're going to donate 50% of the total revenue that we bring in. So far today, it's up to about $430 roughly. That is what we'll be donating as of right now. So if you want a chance to win a 55-inch flat screen smart TV, you can send a Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal anytime between anytime between now and 5 o'clock. And like I said, for every dollar that you send, so if you send $10, that's 10 entries. $100, 100 entries. I'll be honest, one person does have 400 entries because they sent $100 increments 4 times. And they don't even want the TV, and that's an option too. If you don't want the TV, I could give it to somebody else or just donate the cost of that in addition to the what we are contributing. But if you want to do that, you could do that. And yeah. Someone said there are so many veterans struggling to find purpose. If we hired them to protect schools, we'd be saving children's lives as well as veterans. Yeah, but, I mean, they should go out and become cops and become school resource officers and all that stuff. Yes, that sounds nice. It sounds nice to be able to say we should put veterans in schools. But here's the truth. Why do we even need to do that? Until we actually get to the point where we're not trying to mask the problem and we're trying to solve the problem. It's pointless, dude. It's pointless. Mr. Coffee said, if you give a gun to your child when they are 18 and when they're 28, should their parents still be held responsible? No, because they're no longer a child anymore. Do you know what I mean? There's a difference there. A child, a little kid, which doesn't apply in this example. The only thing that applies in this example is this person, had there been some sort of reporting mechanism from when people are suicidal, this monster would have been able to buy a gun anyway. Because they apparently they never exhibited it to mental health workers. They only exhibited it, their suicidal tendencies to other friends. Stooley said, stop debating and put armed people in schools to stop people now. Yeah, again, people have to understand that solves it. It does. Putting armed guards, it masks the issue. It doesn't solve the issue because it's not just about schools. I mean, think about it. You can't even go to the mall without worrying about you're going to get shot. Movie theaters, grocery stores, parks, anywhere in America now. You know what I mean? Billy Mack said, as a retired NYPD cop, I could tell you the drive isn't there for good applicants wanting to be cops in America. No, I know. And I know, people had to, a lot of departments have to lax their hiring standards and pay out a shit ton of money to people because the people have vilified police so much. Why would they want to work? You know what I mean? Why would they want to do it? But that's my belief. That's my little morning rant. Again, if you want to get in on the TV giveaway, do Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal. The link is in the chat. For every dollar that you send, you have one entry, $10, 10 entries, $100, 100 entries. We'll do the drawing live today on the air for the 55-inch flat screen TV, and then we're donating 50% of the total revenue that we take. We're donating that to the Covenant School, which is a school where the shooting took place yesterday. They are a charity, which is why we're making, or not a charity, they are a 501c3, which is why we're going to be donating directly to them. But yes. Yeah, they are a nonprofit organization, so we'll be donating directly to them. We'll make that donation live on the air as well. But yeah, that's it. I can't put the overlay on because, like I said, I pressed the wrong button. But this episode is sponsored by Switch to America. If you're trying to find American-made, American-owned products, make sure you visit switchtoamerica.com. Fill out the form on that page. Choose my name, Steve Oatley, as a person who referred you. You'll get a contact, an email or a phone call from them. They'll run a survey where you can actually compare all the products you use in your home with and they can tell you how you can save on each and get a comparable product made by an American company, owned by an American company, and that's the truth. So check them out, switch2america.com. Marianne said, I disagree that it's pointless, Steve. I agree that we should fix the cause, but in the meantime, our kids would be better protected. Again, I'm not saying and if I did say it's pointless, that's not what I meant to say. It's not pointless because ultimately it could save kids. But again, if the only thing we're trying to address is putting, armed people in schools and we're not going to address the mental health aspects of all these shootings, I don't know what to tell you. Because it just means that people aren't being authentic about actually trying to solve the issue. What you're doing is trying to mask over the issue. Is it going to solve the fact that people are actually thinking about doing this stuff? No, it's absolutely not. It's absolutely not. And we need to be able to find a way to solve that so we don't do it. So, yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But that's that. I appreciate all you guys for hanging out. I'm just going to throw a window up very quick. So, because I know if I press a button, it ends it and then it cuts off the last couple of seconds. So I will see all of you guys tonight at 8 o'clock. Bye.